Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is February 28th, the last day of meteorological winter there, but you wouldn't know it here if you were looking at the temperatures the last couple of weeks across the region and what's coming on in through early March as we look to remain below average. Right now, we're looking at the Doppler radar here across Camano Island. Some nice snowfall across Snohomish, Skagit, Whatcom County. Temperatures generally above freezing outside of precipitation, but when you're underneath some of these bands here, you can be down towards freezing here. It can kind of coat the road, at least for a brief amount of time. Generally missing the Seattle Metro down towards Tacoma and Olympia this morning. Was snowing quite nicely last night, but generally too warm to stick at that time. This upper level low kind of targeting the northwest interior, southwest BC, bringing this nice snowfall event this morning down through southern Oregon. I want to show you down here, and you can see some precipitation across the region. Snowfall occurring all the way out towards the Oregon coast, including Florence there. Some of I-5 down towards the Siskiyou Summit here as well. So heads up if you're driving, especially across some of the higher terrain. Some of the southern Willamette Valley, Eugene and Salem, actually, we're getting some snowfall. Roseburg out there too, sticking on the roads also. Now, taking a look here at the infrared satellite imagery, you can see that low pressure system off the Oregon coast there. Cold air moving in, bringing that snowfall across the area there. You can see Seattle kind of caught right in between there. The Seattle Metro missing out this morning on that snowfall, and this little low pressure system there, bringing that across southern BC towards northwest Washington. Spokane got some nice snowfall as well. So Seattle kind of the loser in this event, but let's see what the next round brings as we go towards this weekend. Now, taking a look here, nice wintry scene shared with me on Twitter this morning up towards Bellingham, covering everything across the region up there, at least when you were underneath the precipitation bands where the temperature dropped down towards below freezing. As you can see it covering the roadways and the trees quite nicely there, shared with me on Twitter this morning. This is Highway 101 on the coastline there. Check out Florence, Oregon, down towards sea level there, covering the roadway. Some very cold air aloft. Nice image there. Now, this is looking at Spokane National Weather Service. They're doing their snow angels out there. Colder temperatures sticking on I-90 even out there as well this morning. And you can see that here, University Road and I-90 out there across eastern Washington, where it's much colder there versus places west of the Cascades. This is I-5, Siskiyou chain-up area, though. You can see with any elevation, you get some nice snowfall going across southern Oregon as well. Now, taking a look here, this is National Weather Service Medford. Look at this nice snowy scene out there. Over 2 inches of snow accumulation out there at the office. Very nice image there from the National Weather Service Medford. This is just kind of a general reminder here across the Pacific Northwest. It could be from a windstorm, whatever, winter storm. If you lose power, make sure you're generator is at least 20 feet away from the doors, windows, garages to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning, and never barbecue inside. It seems like every single year people lose their lives due to carbon monoxide poisoning with power outages. Now taking a look here, day one thunderstorm outlook. Southwest Washington coast, down the coastline. Some of the Willamette Valley is included there. This is looking at SeaTac here, and I wanted to show this. Look at these high temperatures, these record highs back in 1968 of 70 and 68. What a glorious time that would have been. Could you imagine getting 70 degrees on one of these days here towards the end of February? That would be quite the treat. Now, taking a look here, this is yesterday morning's NAM run, and you can see it called that low pressure system kind of moving up over the northwest interior there as we went on through this morning. It's a little bit too much of a southerly wind here across some of the central sound, keeping things just warm enough to where the snow could not stick that was falling overnight last night. And of course, tapping some of that cold air aloft and bringing that snow level down to the surface here across northwest Washington. Now, taking a look at a wider look at things here, you can see Alaska, BC, Washington, Oregon, 500 millibars towards 18,000 feet. There's the cold air that brought that snow chance and did bring some snow across much of the area. Then we get another system coming up here, and this one towards the weekend looks like it's going to drop some colder air down into British Columbia towards early next week as well. As you can see, the ridge continuing this northeast flow here across the area, keeping us below average here as continued systems roll around the Pacific Northwest and the west coast of North America, and troughing remains a consistency as we go on through the extended forecast here, folks. So we'll be watching this. La Nina winter is not relenting at all. Now, taking a look here, this is 850 millibar temperature anomaly with the wind streamlines. We go into later this week coming up here, and watch this cold air try to build down across British Columbia here with low pressure center off the coastline here. So how will this cold air get in here again. Probably going to be some hit and miss snow chances again as we go towards this weekend on in through the following week there. We'll watch the system closely as we get closer to that event. Looking at the European on the left, GFS on the right. Let's put this into motion here. You can see that low pressure center that went over northwest Washington there this morning, bringing that snow event there. Bit of a break. System moves across the region here. Maybe a little bit of a convergent zone snowfall here coming up mid and later week. We'll look at that as we get closer to it as well. But then you can see this Arctic high kind of sagging across the area here. Pretty good model agreement, as you can see, across the Yukon and British Columbia on both the European and the GFS. And with that low pressure system around with colder air to our north, we're going to have this hit and miss snowfall potential here through the on in through early next week there on the European and the GFS. So we got to watch that one closely. Very difficult forecast coming up here, because once you're into early March, it takes a very nice setup here to bring snowfall down to the surface, especially for some of the Seattle metro areas. Now, looking at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, you can see this flirtation with some freezing temperatures as we go through on in through early March. You can see these highs only up into the 40s. Portland, kind of the similar deal here. And this is the national blend of models, kind of an average of some of the major models out there. This is Bellingham International. A little bit colder the further north you get. You're a little bit closer to that cold air there. So we are going to have that snowfall potential as we go on in through next week. This is Spokane International. You can see things definitely colder over there as well. Some of these overnight lows might be down towards the teens as well as we go on into next week. Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, you can see that snow chance does exist on and through next weekend, but you got to take this with a grain of salt. As you guys found out, a lot of this snowfall that these models show is melting on contact with the surface, as was the case last night. Some nice big flakes out there, but it just was not sticking at my house, for example. Portland International, similar thing here. It does show that chance. We go through the weekend here coming up. We'll watch this closely here, but the snowfall totals are going to be inflated versus what we will actually see out of any one of these events. This is Spokane International Airport here as well, and you can see it's going to be a little bit moisture starved, it looks like, on through the extended there also, but we'll watch these systems as they come in. This is down to Eugene, no exception here, pretty similar to Portland and Seattle. Snohomish County, again, similar thing there too as well. And again, we're probably going to be favoring areas north of the Seattle metro area for the most part, but that does not rule out Seattle getting some measurable snowfall as we go on into this weekend and towards next week as well. We'll have to just watch that system closely. This is Kamloops. You can see that colder air moving down into the region there across central BC as we go on in through next week. It's not as cold as what a January or December Arctic blast would bring, but it can still be cold enough to bring some interesting weather across the area. And you can see kind of the mixed bag here. Avalanche danger across the higher terrain there. Just a heads up, check this avalanche.org out if you are going off into the backcountry. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. We do remain below normal here across much of the west on through March 9th and through March 13th there. No changes coming up here, folks. When will spring arrive for the Pacific Northwest? Doesn't look like anytime soon. Tough luck here across some of the Seattle metro. If that low set up a little bit further south, it would have brought some measurable snowfall across the area here too. And you can see that cold air pumping into Oregon there, brought some snow to some pretty lower elevations there across Oregon. Spokane made out nicely, and this will probably bring some snowfall a bit across some of the Blue Mountains as well as low continues to move through the area here also. And there were some pretty good amounts across northeast Washington, if I did not mention that. Outside the Spokane, the higher terrain was getting 6+ inches as well. But yeah, we are going to remain active. We're going to keep some ridging out here. We're going to keep this northwest and north flow across the area on in through next week. The hit and miss snow chances will continue, so stay tuned daily and we'll check them out as we go. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow for my normal briefing, and hope you guys are having a good day.